So I want to talk you through my faith journey, if you will. Yeah, I've been a leader with FaithRx for going on a year and a half now. I've got my beautiful wife to thank for that. She's the one who introduced me to it, and it's just kind of taken off from there. But before that, I had a real big struggle for about 10 years of my life. And we'll go through some of this here. But so to start off, I was raised in the church. I don't have a get saved story. I don't have a story where it was like one day I just woke up and, or someone came into my life and said, you need to know Jesus. And I was like, yes, I need to know Jesus. I'm saved. I was saved in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade. Like, pretty much went to church camp every summer and just kept getting resaved because that's what I knew. My parents were our youth leaders, and I grew up in a Christian home. My family is split down the middle in terms of Catholic and Christian, and so Jesus was just something that I knew. And so that was my life through elementary school, middle school, high school, and even into college. My first 2 years of college, everything was on point, everything was on track. I ran the straight and narrow, if you will. And then probably the biggest thing to this day that it still affects me to this day, and it's been, I don't know how many years, since 2007, so what, 10, 11 years? It came out that, hi buddy, it came out that my mom was having an affair, and she was having an affair with her boss, who she'd worked for 20 years. And I knew this man personally. I mean, he was like a second father to me. I would go to him. I would ask advice from him. He would put my entire family, extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, onto his big motorhome, his RV, and bring them to my away college football games so that they could come and see me play. And when I found out about this, I remember I came home and my mom was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was 22 years old and I walked in the door. And she was sitting in the sunroom of our house, and I had no clue. My brother had gone away for the Army at this point. I was in my second year of college, and I thought life was good, right? I mean, I was on point. I was captain of the football team in college. I was co-chair of the homecoming committee, president of the criminal justice club. Things were good. And she sat down and she had a glass of wine poured for me, and my parents don't believe in promoting alcohol. And I thought, this is weird. Something's wrong. And all she said to me was, your dad's asked me to leave the house, and I'm going to honor his wishes. Well, being a 22-year-old, I was pissed. And I thought, who is this man to kick my mother out of our house? And I got up, I got pissed, I got up, I got my car, I drove to my dad's work. He was in his office, and I can remember vividly kicking the door open and just berating him. Who do you think you are? Words that I won't say in front of everyone here tonight. Because they're naughty. Nice, naughty. Yeah, no, stay in your lane, Mike. So my dad very calmly waited until I was done and then asked if I was ready to listen. And I huffed, said yeah, and he told me the whole story. He told me about the 3 a.m. phone call that he got from the other man's wife who kind of put this all out there. And what this did was this completely destroyed the world that I live in and I knew. The only thing that I ever wanted, my parents had been together since my mom was 14, my dad was 16. They were high school sweethearts. All I ever wanted was to have that relationship, to have the love of my life, if you will. And I emulated everything off of them. And when that fell apart for me, I realized I had no identity. And it took me from 2007, so 22 years old, to 30 years old to find my identity again. It was a long time. It was a very long time. So to give you a little bit of the background, 2007 that comes out, that all this stuff is going on, and so that's right as I have decided to join the police academy and kind of go down that road, right? So in 2007, right after I get hired full-time, my first law enforcement job, this comes out, and I'm surrounded by all these deputies, 20, 30-year guys who've known me. It was my hometown, and they're drinkers. And so I started drinking. I started hanging out. And I was not getting the support that I needed, and I had nobody to mentor me in my faith at this point. So my faith went out the window because, what faith could I have at that point? I was lost. And there was nobody directing me back to God. My mom was with her lover. My dad was alone and crying and terrified. My brother was in Germany. And my family was split down the middle. My mom's side followed her, my dad's side followed him, and I felt caught in the middle of this tornado that I couldn't escape, right? It got so bad that my parents were trading off, like I was in the house, my parents were trading off who was staying in the house and who wasn't. And it was just destroying me day and night, hearing both sides, hearing them argue. My mom, saying that she wasn't going to give up for my dad's retirement, and my dad saying he wasn't going to give up the house, and just craziness. So at that point, my dad makes a decision to move to Colorado. He's got a brother here in Colorado, and he comes in, he moves out here. So my mom moves back in full time, and the very short version of that is after about a month of that, my mom and I get in a fight, and my duty belt is laying on the kitchen table. And she takes the gun out of the holster, and she points it at me, and she threatens to kill me, essentially. And I just sat on the couch, and I was just like, what are you going to do with that? You don't even know what you're doing. We fought. I got the gun back from her. Miraculously, I don't know how, without anybody getting killed, because it was loaded, it was ready to go. And that fight went on for about another hour, going back and forth, where we got into a physical altercation where she actually got the gun back from me again, ran into her bedroom, locked the door, and said she was going to kill herself. And nobody knows this is going on. I live on a dead-end street. Like, my neighbors don't hear this. This is just me and my mother duking it out in our house. At this point, everything is destroyed. I don't know, right, wrong, left, right. Fast forward 2 months from there, I'm drinking so bad, and I am in such a downward spiral that I go out with my friends, and we get into big trouble, all deputies. And we all get into an internal affairs investigation, and I resign from my job. So that was 2008. In 2009, I moved from Ohio to Colorado to come be with my dad. So there goes deputy. So I went to what I knew, and that was to be a personal trainer, because I've always worked out. In 2009, after living in Colorado Springs, or with my dad in Monument for a little while, I moved to Colorado Springs, right? Where I continued to work as a front desk attendant and a personal trainer, but always wanting to get back to law enforcement. That was my goal. The only thing I knew, the only identity I had left was being a cop. That's all that I knew. And no one was directing me towards Jesus, and I wasn't directing myself towards Jesus. I was so trying to control everything that I could that I figured if I could just get things in line. I'm very type A. I love to be in control of things. Kennel. If I could just get it in order, everything would be okay. In 2009, I meet a girl, and I think to myself, this is a safe person. She's safe. And we start dating, and we should have not gone past 3 dates, but we did. And I don't talk about this openly, but we got married in 2009, we started dating in 2009, got engaged in 2010, and got married in 2011. And we were divorced by 2014. She wasn't a Christian, and I really can't say I was either. I don't tell many people that. I'm ashamed of that, but I thought to myself, well, my brother's married and everyone else is married, and maybe if I just get married, everything will be good. My life will settle down. So between 2010, this is a zero, 2010, I moved from Colorado Springs to Loveland with her, and we'll start working for pretrial, which is in the Larimer County government. About half a year into that, I moved to case management within the same division, and we moved from Loveland to Fort Collins. After that, I think to myself, well, I'm not happy. My wife isn't a Christian. I am. I'm calling myself a Christian, but I'm not acting like one. And I'm unhappy. I'm unsatisfied. Something's missing, and I'm just trying. I'm grasping at everything. So I think, if I could just get back to being a cop, I'll be okay. That's it. That's my identity. That's who I am. I'm a cop. I fix what other people can't. I'm there when other people won't be there. I'm a hero. I have a hero complex like you wouldn't imagine. And so I become a deputy again. I get lucky and I find this little department that will overlook the crap that I did in Ohio out in Cheyenne Wells, Colorado. Does anyone know where Cheyenne Wells, Colorado is? It's about 2 hours east of Colorado Springs. It's as close to Kansas as you can get. Somebody made a mistake when they were drawing the borders of Colorado and Kansas. It should be Kansas. It's not Colorado. So I become this deputy, but it's small. There's 5 of us on the whole department. That's not enough for me. I'm a hero. I'm SWAT. I'm high speed, low drag. I got to go better. I got to go bigger. So in 2012, we're in Cheyenne Wells, and I take a job with the Lamarla Police Department, just an hour down the road, a little bit bigger department. They got SWAT, they got canine, they got narcotics, they got all the things. There's only 20 people on this department. But for me, it's a step up. I'm moving in the right direction. So I become an officer. Feeling good, feeling great, on track. One night, get a call, burglar in the area. I go out, I see a kid riding a bike. He's all blacked out, black clothes. He's wearing dark clothing. I asked him to stop. He doesn't. He runs. I chase him. He runs into a house. He locks the door behind him. I go up to the door. I can't get in. I run to the front of the house. I kick the door open. I draw my gun. I'm looking around. It's a family sitting on their living room floor playing video games. And here's me standing in their door with my gun drawn, telling them to get down on the ground. And where did he go? They were pissed. They weren't happy, right? If that has ever happened to any of you, it's not good. It's scary, it's terrifying. And when you realize, what I ended up realizing was that guy ran into his own home. I can't prove that he was the burglar that night, but the way that I acted, with no regard for anything but myself and my own complex, cost me another job. So there's officer, out the window. So 2013, my wife and I, we moved to Montrose, Colorado, and I then get a job with the Delta County Sheriff's Office. Now, this seems great because for a year, I'm out in Delta, Colorado, and I'm doing good. I mean, I'm making DUI arrests, I'm making drug arrests, I'm doing great, I'm on track, I'm working out, I'm feeling good. And I make a huge bust, so big that I leverage that into him. I walked myself right into a canine job. The department had never had a canine before. I wrote the proposal, and I got Haas. And that is why I have a star by that deputy, because that is when I got Haas, and he has saved my life more times than I can tell you. So 2013, we moved to Hotchkiss, Colorado, and we get into 2014. I'm still lost. I'm calling myself a Christian. I'm telling myself I'm a Christian. But if K-Love comes on the radio by accident, I change the station because I can't stand to listen to it. Why? I love K-Love. Right now, if you get in my car, you'll hear 2 stations, K-Love or Cozy, because it's Christmas. And then once Christmas is gone, we're done. It's back to K-Love. But I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't handle it. I was so ashamed of what was going on inside me. 2014, my marriage starts to end. And, okay, fine. I deserve better. At least that's what I tell myself. I deserve a Christian because I think I'm a Christian, even though I know I'm not. I know who Jesus is, but I don't rely on him for anything. I rely on Vince because Vince is the one who can fix everything. Vince is the one who can get it done. 2014, after my divorce, I move to another house in Hotchkiss, right? Shortly after that, I start dating a girl, and the long story short is she was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and so was I. And I made so many bad decisions that I went and got myself fired again. I don't often tell people this. When people ask me, when I tell people my cop story, I just say I moved. I went on to bigger things. I went on to different things. No, it was resign or be fired. The only thing I fought for, and I brought a lawyer in for one thing and one thing only, and that was Haas. I refused to give him up. And they let me keep him, thank God. So God working in my life in a way that I couldn't even see happening at the time. When I lose this job, I'm so depressed, I'm so emotional, I'm contemplating suicide. I'm laying on the floor of this empty house that I'm supposed to move out of because it's now 2015. And I've got to leave Delta because I've got no money, I've got no job prospects. Everything is out there about me on the internet, on things that I can't control. I have no reputation. I'm laying on the ground just asking God, like, why? And Haas comes over and he lays his head on my chest. And we don't move for a day. Not one day. We laid on the ground still. The only reason I got up was because I knew I had to feed him and let him out. He saves my life again. I move in 2015 to Colorado Springs for a short while, then to Aurora, where I get a security job in a hospital over in Aurora. God working in my life. I hate myself at this point because I've gone from this canine officer, this prestigious guy who has award after award after award, who solved a murder, who's busted countless amounts of drugs and alcohol, and I'm a security officer. But I meet my wife. I don't know it at the time. I don't. But that's where we meet. 2015, I move from Aurora again to just down the street, basically. And I don't want to be a security guard, so I want to try something different. So I move to becoming an addiction tech, right? So I'm working with people who are into drugs and alcohol, and this gives me some purpose. I feel good about this. And I realize at this point, I need Jesus. I'm sitting having a conversation, talking to an alcoholic who's about to die. And we start talking about God. And I realize that all of the things I'm telling him are all the things I need to be saying to myself, but I'm not. Everything I'm telling him, I'm a hypocrite. So I realize I need to do something. So I start going to church again. At that time, I had made friends with a mutual friend of Kendra and ours, and she was a great Christian. I knew it from the beginning, and she encouraged me throughout the entire time. Whatever I was doing, she's always encouraging me. Jesus, God, Jesus, God, Jesus, God. So it's starting to sink in. It's starting to kick in. 2015, I move again. I move in 2016. I move in 2017. I move in 2017. I move in 2017. No lie, 3 times in 2017. And twice. Whoops. And twice in 2018. In 9 years, I came out in 2009 to 2018. That is how many times I've moved. After becoming an addiction tech, I became a case manager, then a recruiter, then I worked in construction, then a case manager, and now I'm a student again. I have had no identity, career-wise, since I lost this job right here. But the truth of the matter is, I haven't had an identity since 2007, when my world was wrecked by the loss of my parents. And I didn't put my faith in God, I put my faith in myself. And what a mistake that was. Somewhere in here, I start just dedicating myself to the Lord and making small little changes, right? Like fitness, right? Nobody comes in out of shape and then just walks into the gym and is doing muscle ups and crushing naughty or nice. It just doesn't happen. It's a progression over time. And that's what my reintroduction to faith has been, a progression starting in 2015. So the verse that I picked for tonight is James 2-4. I'm going to read it to you guys in a little bit. But it talks about considering trials and tribulations pure joy. I ask myself time after time after time, why God, why? Why is all of this happening? And I've come to realize through all of that he was purposely and strategically not answering these prayers, not giving me what I wanted, because it was what I wanted and not what he wanted. What God wanted for me was my heart, and I refused to let that go. I couldn't let it go because if I let it go, it could be broken, it could be stolen, it could be hurt. My parents were together for 26 years. If I let my heart go, 26 years from now, my heart could be broken, and no one was going to do that to me. I refused to let it happen. But by refusing to let that happen, I was refusing to let Jesus into my heart, the way he should be, where he should have been all along. But I'm stubborn, so I wanted to do it my way. This sucks, by the way. Anybody who's moved this much, it's terrible. Oh, it's coming. Don't worry. All right? So I guess the purpose and the reason that I talk about all of this, you guys, is because I slowly, from 2015 to 16 to 17, slowly started relinquishing my control over my life and just slowly learned to trust God more and more and more. And every time that I did that, every unanswered prayer, every time I thought, I want to go do this, he said no. He knew my identity. He knew what I was going to become long before I could ever see it, but I didn't know that, and I couldn't see that, and I couldn't feel that. So we hear about, and we pray this all the time, Lord, be the light unto my path, guide me. But do we actually let him guide us? Or do we just walk our own path and roll the dice and say, hey, this is working out for me. This is okay. I know I do. What God did was he pulled me out of what I thought I needed for myself, and that was law enforcement. And he brought me to my knees, and as soon as he stripped me down, he started putting everything in my life that I needed. And I can't say enough about Faith RX because this was the precipice of the change of my life. I walked into Faith RX. I don't know, Kendra and I had been friends for maybe a couple months. We weren't even dating at this point, I think, and we went, or were we? I don't know, it doesn't matter. I've never had, that aha Jesus moment, that you're saved moment, but I walked into Faith RX, and I got that first workout, and I walked up to the leaders and I said, how do I get involved? I don't care. I want to be involved. I will do whatever you need of me. That's my got saved moment. That's my moment that I realized that God was taking me down a road and that he was bringing people into my life that I've never had before. That was in 2017. I'd been here since 2009. I'd never felt like home at all. And finally, in 2017, I feel like I have family. I feel like I belong here in Colorado. So I submit myself to the Lord. I submit myself to the Lord. And what happens? In 2018, he says, Vince, I'm moving you to Florida. I'm sending you to Florida, and I'm giving you an identity in your career, because that's all I've wanted. I'm giving you what you've wanted all along, but you couldn't see it. And I thank him every day for that. Because in the end, all the no's, he was just waiting to say yes. but it was in his time. And I could look at this and I could say, this is not the way I saw my life going, but that's not my choice. That's not my call. I don't get to have control over that. I get to go out and I get to make disciples of all nations. And if he sends me to Florida to go help the Florida chapter and to become a nurse and to save lives or to do whatever it is he wants me to do down there, I'll go, and I'll go proudly with my dog and my wife and our other dog and our cat. It's a package deal, folks. So I'm going to bring up this verse and I'm going to read it to you. And I just want to resonate on it for a little bit because I think it's something that we don't do often enough. You guys know Stephen Furtick, the pastor Stephen Furtick? He's one of my favorite to listen to. And he was preaching recently about thanking God for all of the no's. And I don't do that enough. But when I really think about it and I put it in context of this verse, man, it speaks to me in a way that I hope it can speak to some of you. I hope whatever you're carrying, whatever you're going through, whatever burden may be on your heart at any given time, you can thank him for those trials and consider it pure joy. And here's why. In James chapter 1, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kind." Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its works so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. And that's what gets me. I thought that I was lacking something in my career. But what I was lacking was a heart for Jesus. And as soon as I gave him my heart, I have not wanted for anything. Not one single thing. So I consider it pure joy now, everything that he's put me through. The loss to Mike tonight. The loss of people that I consider family, friends, mentors. I can sit here and be really disappointed about the fact that I'm losing all of that, but I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to share that with so many people. So I guess if I could just say anything, it's that remember that his plan is greater than any plan that we could have ever had in mind. And to just trust him as hard as you can. Just trust him. And he'll give you everything that you want. Thank you guys so much for putting up with this tonight.